The Professors is brought to you by Blackborder.com. The site features everything from articles by pros Gerard Fabiano, Nico Boni, Joel Calafel, Jan Massacard, podcasts, the Ask the Pro and Ask the Judge features, forums, a deck building tool, and more. So go check out Blackborder.com today. Hello everybody and welcome to yet another episode of The Professors. This week, before we start our Zendikar Limited talk for Grand Prix Tampa the last weekend of October, we're here to see how Standard is shaping up and see if we can suggest some reshaping of our own. So let's draw. While the Standard 5K took place on October 10th, and it was only an hour and a half away from home, I was more than 3 hours away from there. Still, the night before, there was all sorts of hype around the store about the Vampire deck, the new 5-color control style play. This play, note, is completely unexpected according to the attendance at the pre-release, as only 1 out of about 20 people thought 5-color control was still possible. And, of course, the lists that just had to stuff $250 into a deck on top of 18 rares. Taking a glance, you can see 5/8 of the top 8 is Jund, an oldie but a goodie. However, most lists opted out from playing Black Lotus Cobra, believe it or not, and switched it for the Sprouting Thrinax, as not a heavy hitter, but as 4 creatures to hold up the board. In the higher drops and controlling side of the game, Bituminous Blast helps you get in some more damage, the Cycled Resounding Thunder as a game ender, and the Broodmates terrorize the skies to finish off the opponent. It's an interesting fact that with the entirety of fast-hitting aggro decks that have drops that often need assistance from a planeswalker like Garruk Wildspeaker can still triumph. That is to say, though, perhaps we judged this format too quickly and hoped the fast-hitting creatures would be as consistent as our 4th turn vampire kill scenario. It turns out, however, that the highest vampires made it was 7th, and had to play such a controlling game that the Lacerator running into their Putrid Leech was too much, and Eldrazi Monument, Vampire Nocturnus, and Mind Sludge all had to venture as mainboard answers to Jund midrange. However, one deck was good enough to finish beating face by turn 5. The deck comes prepared with no less than 14 1-drops and a way to search them up via Ranger of Eos, along with 12 fetches outnumbering only 7 basics and 4 Teetering Peaks to push through the rest of the damage. The deck is a very all-or-nothing build, as even not overcommitted, a Volcanic Fallout or Pyroclasm still seeing play off a Bloodbraid Elf has you down. But that isn't to say they can undermine the power of Harm's Way, saving a guy from the Pyroclasm and a Kickered Burst Lightning that you've got to finish them off. This is my favorite build in the meta at the moment, and I plan to begin some testing with it as the metagame shifts towards a more controlling setting. Beyond this pretense, as for our main deck this week, a little while back someone noticed something about the often overlooked Pyromancer Ascension. Many had thought of a Naya Fog deck with Luminarch Ascension, but with stuff like Lightning Bolts and Resounding Thunders and not having enough fog effects, yes, not enough fog effects, this deck comes up with the idea of having a crazy Naya Charm that returns the other Naya Charm and the second copy returning another card, and keep getting Naya Charms and fogging stuff and getting angels, and well, that's cute and all, but over the weekend I got shipped the Grixis version of the Pyromancer Ascension list. Take a look. This is ridiculous. The first thought that came to my mind was that this deck wouldn't be able to do enough. The Lightning Bolts and Burst Lightnings need to be spent for creature kills, and the Pyromancer Ascension doesn't start triggering till turn 5 or 6 at best. But fact is, there's enough delay versus almost every deck and answers to every problem so that you can get to the point of time warping on turn 5. Then start drawing twice with Jace on your extra turns and fire off a couple Cruel Ultimatums to the point where my opponents have just given up, even if I don't actually have a way to kill them. That said, the plays get a little complex. Your early plays include just burning through their forces with Lightning Bolts and Burst Lightnings and sweeping when necessary with Pyroclasm. However, doing so is a surprisingly complex task. Sometimes you have to deal with a 2/2 or a 3/3 bashing in at you. Or maybe you even need them to swing each turn with a 4/4 Putrid Leech so they lower their own totals. However, in the mid-game you can start pulling some tricks with getting your opponent to attack Jace when he's not important but they think he is, or getting them not to attack Jace when they don't think he's important but he is in fact vital, based on the +2 and -1 abilities. Additionally, Time Warp doesn't just help you win but buys card advantage in turns. Sometimes it's just a 0 mana card card that draws you something. But sometimes that something is the fuel you needed, not to mention the Pyromancer Ascension multiple counter fuel and hopefully turns till you can flip over the ultimatums. On that note, it's necessary that we clear up a fact about the Ascension. Over the week, I had been unsure if the abilities were state-based effects, or SBEs, or triggers. If it was a state-based effect, then that'd mean you'd only need to stick one counter on the enchantment before it gained relevance, and would make that second instant or sorcery cast with the duplicate in the graveyard its own duplicate. Spending a Time Warp gets considerably less risky, and Cruel Ultimatums become all the more lethal. However, as I saw more and more people with the same concern and others dispelling the rumor, I came to realize this is indeed a fallacy. The reason being that both triggers on Pyromancer Ascension are triggered abilities. Therefore, they happen at the same time, which in this case is whenever you've just casted an instant or sorcery. Therefore, it'd get the second counter, but not the second ability. On a different note, we've been exploring these lists over the last couple of weeks to explain, I guess, why people like Type 2. In a way, it's simple psychographics. I guess I want to be a Johnny and explore in these weeks after the sets release possible new decks. But hey, we still want to get you somewhere, so we test the important decks later in the season as well and try to give you the winning builds for the spike aspect. So until next time, this is Anthony Palmerio. Tapped out for now, but we'll untap soon.